Hi, I'm Keith Champagne, the 14th most handsome comic book creator for DC, Marvel, and more companies than you can shake a stick at. I'm a writer, artist, inker, letterer, publisher, and all around swell guy. Catch me on Instagram at the pretentious Keith Champagne for a better look at what I do. And you're watching and listening to Two Geeks Talking.
Keith, when it comes to Punch here, why did you want to make this particular comic series?
I didn't want to make this comic series.
Okay.
I used to write a book. I wrote the revival of Adolescent, Radioactive, Black Belt, Hamsters a while ago now, probably 15 years ago. And it was a lot of fun. And I did a podcast last year. And what they wanted to talk about was they wanted to do a deep dive into the Black Belt Hamsters. So we, got to talking about it. And I mentioned like it was a really fun gig at the time. It was like a breath of fresh air because I'd be writing like a DC crossover event, which is very stressful with a lot of notes from different editors and blah, blah, blah. And then I get to go off in a little corner and write an issue of the Black Belt Hamsters. And it was just fun and funny and a good change of pace. And I enjoyed writing humorous. It's fun to find a balance between writing humorous and writing characters that people really care about. So then one of my new paying collaborators, a guy, Rich Stahnke, texted me the next day. He's like, hey, if you like doing that kind of book so much, why don't we do one for New Pain? Like, let's make our own Ninja Turtles or Black Belt Hamsters book. I didn't need another book right now to do. Like, I have so many other New Pain projects that are spinning around. But he got me. He got me thinking about it, and next thing you know, these characters are coming to life in my head, and the way that they hunt like cryptids, like Bigfoot or the tall gray aliens, etc. It just took on a life of its own, and so it jumped the line of other projects and became the book that I'm really having fun doing.
Was it the break you needed though?
Yeah, no, it's a good break. I have, for me these days, it's about the collaboration more than anything. And I like working with Rich. He's a really easygoing, nice, funny guy, and he has a great work ethic. So we have fun bouncing stuff back and forth off of one another. Yeah, no, it's a good experience for sure. And I think that translates to the book. The book's a lot of fun.
That's what I noticed about reading it there. From what I got to read, I think it has that level of humor that I think is missing in action comics these days. I have a warped sense of humor as it is, so it just hits all my funny bones.
Oh, I'm glad. Everyone loved like the JLA when Giffen and JM were doing it, and I kind of miss that kind of humor in comics also. And also, no one's making Ninja Turtle style books anymore, which was back in the '80s there were a dime a dozen. Everyone had their own Ninja Turtles. So we're like, well, maybe the time is right to do like a new iteration of a book like that.
Yeah, because I love cryptids. I love the anthropomorphs that you have in this series here. You could say that there's an underlying layer of these characters that I just didn't get to see yet.
Well, yeah, I only sent you the first half, right?
Yeah, I know, which makes me want it. So there you go. The fact that you have cryptids and anthropomorphs in a comic here, why are those characters you needed to put together, besides it being the style of the book?
So that's an interesting question, and it's hard to answer too deeply when people haven't read the book yet. But they're kind of the same thing, and it's a theme that's going to come into play in the book in the second half that you haven't read yet. It's mentioned by one of the characters in that the Punch team, which are a bunch of animals that have been bionicized and they've been anthropomorphized into these intelligent characters. They hunt cryptids around the world. They have a lot more in common with the cryptids than they do with the human beings that have created them. And so that becomes a theme. There's a correlation between the two that will eventually make sense as to why these two, distinct kinds of characters, cryptids and my funny animals, are interacting at all. There's a plan there for sure.
You have action, you have adventure elements, and you just touched on some of the themes that we'll get to see in the entire comic series itself here. Is this just a one-off, or is this are we looking at a 3-issue series? Are we going to see this as a movie eventually?
Well, I mean, knock on wood, we'd see it as a movie. So the first issue on Kickstarter coming up, it's 52 pages altogether, which basically is 2 issues. And I think next year, about mid-year, we'll probably do another, double-sized issue like that. So that'll be a first arc, and then I would like to do like a one shot with a character in the book, Marshmallow, who is a cat. He's like our Wolverine, basically. There's some stuff in there to explore with him that I'd like to play with, and then probably do another series. I'd also like to. I mentioned this to the artist the other day. I think like this series would play really well with younger readers, in the middle school range or what have you. So I'm going to clean up some language in here because I tend to have characters curse, and I'll give it to Scholastic and maybe Paper Cuts and a couple of other companies that specialize in that, and see if there's a market for it out there.
You have neurodivergency in the title itself here. Is that included in the characters?
No, it's definitely included in the characters. Every character is neurodiverse in a different way. Like one character has Tourette's. One character suffers from depression. One character has multiple personalities. He's a shark and German Shepherd, depending on what personality he is at any given moment. They all have these challenges, these neurodiversities that help to form their characters, but also give them something to push against or grow against. So there's also a reason for that.
I know you don't want to go into spoiler territory, so I know you're being careful with what you're saying there, and I completely understand. But I think it's something that's needed, and it's something that's great that you're exploring, and I'm glad you're doing it in the way that you're doing it. So I think it'll be wonderful for those to read it for sure.
Sure, and neurodiversity and mental health challenges. I mean, it's so common. So easily spoken of now. It's not a stigma to it anymore. And maybe there's a kid out there, someone that has Tourette's, that will read this comic and be like, oh, this is actually okay to have Tourette's. Yeah. Or an autistic individual that would read the comic and relate to one of the characters in there. Who knows? I mean, you just hope that people resonate with something.
Who's the team around Punch?
The team of characters or the creative team?
Both. We're going to go with both.
Well, the creative team is easy because it's just me and Rich Stahnke. I write it and I letter it and I edit it, which is nice because no one can tell me what to do as my own editor. And then Rich pencils, inks, and colors it. As far as the team, we've got Marshmallow, who is a cat with some real anger issues. We have Kibble/Sushi, who is the multiple personality disorder, and he's both a German Shepherd and a shark. We've got Crackers, who is a chimpanzee. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Crackers is an orangutan, is autistic. We have Flapjack, who has Tourette's, and he's a lemur. And who's the other character? Oh, the Chestnut is the other one. He's the team leader. He's a squirrel with O.C.D. And then they work with a guy, Professor Coconuts, who's an elephant. He's kind of their team. And they have a therapist. His name is Dr. Jaquito, who's their human therapist. And they work with him in between missions. So it's a fun mix of personalities. The way they bounce off of each other is half the way that the story builds itself, I guess.
That's what I enjoyed, and I'm glad to see that you're putting this together. It's going to be released. I'm sure you have some good perks as well, too, in regards to the campaign.
Yeah, actually, a lot of the nuts and bolts are there. We've got the comics and the different tiers of those things. We're going to throw a T-shirt in there. We'll punch everybody if they want. If you want a free punch for supporting the book, we'll punch you in the gut as a free bonus. It's people should check out the campaign. There's original art. There's all kinds of good stuff in there.
So where can we find Punch and anything else you want to promote about Punch?
So, Punch itself will be going live on Kickstarter on Monday night, about 8 o'clock. I like to do a soft launch on Monday nights, and it gives my previous backers a chance to grab the early bird rewards before the general public becomes aware of it on the next day. And then you can go to newpainpro.bigcartel.com, which is our catalog of books, and Punch will be listed on there soon too. And New Pain Instagram page, or my Instagram page, Pretentious Keith Champagne, is a good place to stay up to date on the things we're doing also.